informal start. Welcome to this kind of pop-up webinar, which is a joint venture between the very excellent Emily Weston that I'm pointing to there in this window, but she may not be on your window there. Emily Weston, many of you know her because she's big on Twitter, very big, and has got a big following, does a lot of work on transitions. We've called her a transition expert. It's the only way of describing her. So it's a joint venture between Emily and also between LbQ. So I'm Matthew and I work for LbQ, really just to share how LbQ could work for transitions. And we wanted it to be quite an informal meeting, only like half an hour because it's a Tuesday evening and, you know, there's other stuff to do afterwards. But we have a couple of goals tonight that we'll see if we can fulfill. The first one is to just show you how LbQ works, because we've already established in the chat that some people have not used it before. So you can all do some questions as a pupil and you'll be able to assess its suitability for your pupils. And then Emily's going to talk about our content and how you could use it for transition. That's basically what we're going to do, and we better get on with it. So first of all, I'm just going to go over to LbQ. So LbQ basically is a classroom app. We've got Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 content in the topics of maths, English and science. Obviously primary science, and then chemistry, biology, and the other one, physics, for secondary. And the whole point of us is we're effective feedback at the point of learning. So we expect you as teachers to teach stuff, or the pupils to have learned something, and then you can run an LbQ set to help them consolidate their learning, to help them kind of practice and to help them make progress. So we're very much about formative learning and helping every pupil make progress. All of our questions have feedback, and the feedback is often very clever. It's clever because it's been written by people, teachers like you, who know that when a pupil gets a question wrong, it's interesting how they get it wrong, and you can actually see where the misconception is and move them on. So that's basically what LbQ is. So I'm just going to show you our content. So this is the LbQ website. And if you, I think I might have to just log out. Yeah, I'm just going to log out, because here's a little trick you can do, right? If you don't have an LbQ account and you go to our website, you're just a member of the public and you click on our question sets. So let's say you clicked on English, it loads up all of our stuff basically. And each one of these headings is a question set of 30 questions. So there's a lot of questions here. So you can actually open one of these up and look at every single question that we've written. So if you're thinking, what's the LbQ content like? Do I have to buy a license? Do I have to get a truck? No, you can see everything. I'll log in now because we're going to start a question set. So here we go, log in. And we're going to go with English. So when you load up English, you basically get all of the topics along here. So for English Key Stage 2, years 5 and 6, we basically have reading. We also have grammar, punctuation and spelling. The nice thing is you can filter by year group. So if I was just going to, for instance, look at year 6 grammar, then I've got all of the question sets down here. So if I chose a question set, this one's on different tenses of the verb perfect, storm, whatever, perfect verb form, then this previews the question set for me. 3 things I could do. I can plan. Plan is just a little calendar, meaning if I want to teach that next Tuesday, I'll now get a reminder. I could teach with the content. This is a beautiful feature. Doesn't require the pupils to actually answer the questions on their own devices, because it puts up the content on your screen. And once it's up on your screen, you can have a go as a group at answering the content. You can also use the ink tools to do some underlining, or you might even want to bring another box down. So you've got teach mode, which is great. If you want to start the question set so that all the pupils work through the questions on their own devices, you click on start. We're going to choose informal class. I'm going to put the code till this evening. I'll leave these question sets open. So even when the webinar's ended, you can actually still use the code we're going to generate in the next mouse click to have a look at the content. So click on informal class. Right. And what you get is you'll get a 4-digit code. So now if you want to play along at home, then basically you need to go to this address. It's lbq.org/task, where I'm hovering my mouse. And then I want you to put this code in, the 4-digit code, JHMS. And then you'll be asked for your name, and then you'll have joined my lesson. So that's how a teacher starts a lesson. That's how the pupils join. The whole point about LbQ is it's quick to run. You have to be able to pick it up in your classroom and get it running within like minutes, or maybe even less than a minute. Because let's face it, there's so much stuff going on. If it took ages to get a technology task running, it wouldn't work. And LbQ's not about technology. LbQ is about learning. So we want to make the experience of joining the question set really quick. So I could already see, I don't know whether you can see on my screen, some of you won't because you'll be in the task, and I've got a couple of pupils joined. Yeah, so if you want to play along, just to recap, go to here, lbq.org/task, and then JHMS. That's your 4-digit code. I'll just show you what that might look like. Click on here. That's where your code goes. You put your name in, and then you've joined the lesson. So this is what the pupil experience looks like. And our question sets are built using a mastery model. For maths, we use a mastery model that's very closely aligned with the White Rose model. But we use the same or a similar mastery model for both science and for English as well, which means that our questions aren't all the same. They actually build up. You get different levels. This question set, for instance, has 4 levels. It has understanding, it has application. There's a 3rd level that I've forgotten, and then there's a consolidation level at the end. But the question set preview will tell you all of this. So the idea is that pupils who are not so confident will make progress on the earlier questions and feel they're getting somewhere. They'll have a positive experience. What will happen as well is that the ones who are more confident will soon get through the easier questions and get to the higher level questions where they're tested in more detail or more depth, and that will enable them to make progress as well. So differentiation in a way is baked into LbQ because of the way we design our questions. So I can see I've got 3 pupils joined in now, which is great. So well done for joining. Here they are. Okay, there we go. And basically the way it operates, and if you haven't joined, it doesn't matter because you can imagine the pupils doing the questions, is the teacher gets a live feedback grid. So the final part of the LbQ puzzle is that the teacher gets live marked. So as pupils are actually joining the class and then completing the questions, we just give it a really nice color coding system. Red is wrong with a number of goes. So pupil 1's had 3 goes at question 3 and then given up and moved on, which is fine, by the way. Amber is right after a number of goes and green is right first time. So you've got live feedback. It's like you've got superpowers and you've handed out a worksheet and you could run around and mark every question as it's happening and then color it in on a spreadsheet. And we do this all for you. So that's great. I will leave this question set running. I'm actually going to hand over to Emily now because Emily's more interested than me and see what she wants to say about how she might use LbQ for transition. Emily, I've taken up all the words. I'm going to hand over to you now and I'm going to shut up for a minute.
Thank you. So I think for transition, you're looking at a really, really comprehensive summer term. So we all know that the summer term, you're sort of mopping up what happens, revising, sort of trying to fill those gaps ready for secondary. And having gone to secondary, I can see that actually it's about consolidation. So children need to feel as confident as possible before they come up to secondary school. And I think that by doing small activities like this, either as a whole class or even as interventions in small groups or on their own, this will really help children feel confident. I think that the live marking for me is the best part because you can straight away see the gaps, straight away see where you need a little bit more work or where the child needs to feel more confident. And I think as well, it's not even about knowing the content per se. It is just about that confidence, and the more confident a child can feel from using something that they're familiar with, then the better. And that's what LbQ does. I think it makes it really familiar to them. It's the same sort of structure for each session. It's really well known to them, so the task itself isn't a struggle. It's just allowing them to really focus on the content. So for the summer term, that's why I think it's fantastic, because it goes across primary and secondary. It's something that, again, can build that confidence by children knowing how to use it and then it following on into year 7. And I think as well, for transition, it gives you good reports. So you can run reports that really show you how a child is doing. And again, they can be passed up to secondary, or they can be used to inform end of year expectations. And especially with the summer schools that are coming up as well, it's another way that you can help children access that learning, or something over the summer. I think it feels more like a game to them. The children I've used it with before have always seen it as a game. They've always seen it as something quite fun to do rather than a test or rather than a piece of work. And I think, again, I'm sure you'll all know that that's a real benefit as well. If a child feels like they're having fun when they're doing it, they're more likely to want to keep doing it and want to keep building up that knowledge and confidence.
Yeah, so what I've done here on the screen, I should still be sharing, hopefully, as I've accidentally switched it off. I'll put up what we call class track. So when you use LbQ, you can track the pupils, as Emily said. And as they use LbQ more and more, we will track them. And it means that you can actually drill down on every individual result they've ever done. So even just looking visually at the colour of the box and how much is shaded in, you know exactly how the pupil's done for each task. So we will, and we create this graph automatically. So it doesn't, there's no more work. All you as a teacher have to do is find a question set like we did for tenses and run it. We do all the marking, and then we also build you a beautiful data visualization of what you got. And as Emily said, that could be shared across the school, so it can inform decisions about teaching at all different levels in the school.
And I think, like, the one that you've chosen for tenses is really useful, because I don't know about anyone else, but English is my speciality, and teaching tenses makes me want to pull my hair out. And actually having something like this, which is really comprehensive, is such a bonus. You can teach it till you're blue in the face sometimes, but sometimes they just need to have that practice and get used to the phrases, get used to the words. And it's a really beneficial way of teaching trickier concepts, I think. So I personally, again, algebra is my weakness in maths. I don't hide it, but I love having something like this to help me teach it, because not only have you got the little tests that they can do, but there's the teach side of the site as well, which has like ready-made lessons for you. So I find that really helpful as well. And especially when you want them to be really secure in a concept, obviously, as much as we want to be experts in everything, actually having that that resource there, I think really helps to teach it so that children are ready and are confident to make the step up to secondary, because that's what it's all about. It's all about feeling confident with what they can do.
Yeah, and the beauty of LbQ is it's set up so we really value your teacher professional judgment. Like, LbQ wouldn't work if it wasn't for a teacher. We're not a fancy AI system or whatever it's called. We're like very teacher driven, which means that you can move between self-paced mode and teach mode really easily. Like the question set that I'm on, if I go back to teacher mode here, I'll just load the task back up. It's running in the background. There we go. So we're well done, pupil 4, who's nearly finished the task. What I can do at any point is I can pause it just to show you what that looks like. The question is, the current question is pause for pupils, and you can talk to them. So you can address them, use your teacher superpowers. But you can also bring up a question. So if question 3 is being a bit problematic, you can view the question in teach mode, and you can have a discussion about how you might solve this. And then if you want, you can even send that question out, as we call that an ad hoc question. So that question will actually be sent out, and all the pupils can have a go individually at that question. Once they've done that, then you get the results and you can let them go back for their task. So it's really easy to move between whole class teaching and self-paced mode. In fact, expert teachers who use LbQ, that's often what you see them doing, and that's where they get the maximum benefit of it. Because let's face it, where do kids learn? They learn in your lesson. So that means every minute is precious, and LbQ just helps you squeeze everything out of those minutes, really.
And I think, like you said, where you can pick out the question that maybe children have been struggling in, that's straight away an intervention. If you've got a TA, okay, can you take these 3-4 children out and go through this part of tenses again? I think it's a really reactive way to do interventions, which is how I personally like to do. I like to do them reactive within the lesson, and I think that's a really beneficial way of being able to do that as well.
Yeah, well, I saw a teacher before lockdown, before we all kind of weren't allowed to go into buildings. It was a teacher in Blackburn who used LbQ, and what she actually did, she put a question set up. I believe it was about large numbers. It was year 5, your large numbers, you know, adding up million, whatever. She set it up running, and she let it run for about 10 minutes. She then got an idea about where every pupil was, and she said something surprising, because I expected, you know, there was a few pupils who weren't there. She basically then reordered a group. She actually said, right, you go and sit there, you sit there, and then they carried on. But then she could then put the support she needed for each of them, for each of the kind of groups. So effectively, she'd used LbQ to diagnose where the class were for this particular topic and reconfigure their class in real time. And that was hugely impressive. And all LbQ did was give her the data to do that. And those things are really quite possible. Obviously, a lot of time you do it after the lesson. You look back at the results and you think, you know what, these are some pupils who maybe need extra support. We'll have to plan for it. So. Another thing that is quite important that Emily alluded to that I'll just pick up on is the fact that LbQ is, although we have primary and secondary content, because we build for the national curriculum, so we build key stages and then we build year group content. So we're basically, you know, helping you wherever you are. An LbQ license is for everything. So the beauty of it is that somebody working at year 7, if they need to dip down to year 6 or year 5 content, or even year 4 content, let's, you know, how far behind this year's year 7, September's year 7 going to be? I mean, we know it's probably going to be a long way. You've got access to everything. So you can basically run question sets on any topic. So you're not hindered. You don't have to be a secondary or primary LbQ user. And the other clever thing, well, I say clever, it's not really clever, it's just a feature, is when we send the question set to the pupils, we do not tell them what year group it is. I'll just come out of this task. Identify different tenses of the perfect verb form. It doesn't say year 6. Because if it did, and you did it with a year 8 group, they'd be, oh, miss, oh, I'm not doing year, you know. We just send it out and the pupils just crack on with it. So the teacher's got ultimate flexibility on which questions they kind of, which question sets they want to run. One of the things you can do as well is you can set up to 3 question sets at any one time. So a scenario might be, let's say, it's almost a scenario that's happening here. Because if I look at task 1, good old pupil 4, Lisa is nearly done. She's nearly finished. It's been a bit slowed down by the application questions, but I'm pretty sure she'll be finished quite soon. So rather than have her twiddle her thumbs, I can come back to my my question set kind of box, as it were. So we were in English, and we actually, if you remember, we looked at year 6. I'll just go back to year 6 and I'll look at grammar, and I can actually set another question set really easy. That's now a second question set that's running, and it's under the same code. So I could say to that pupil, when you finish that task, come back to here. We call this a lobby. It's kind of the lesson of the teacher. Click on the second task and have a go at that. And you can do that 3 times.
And I think that sets it up, doesn't it? If somebody's finding something tricky, then you can have an intervention running, you can have a lesson running. There's different groups of children you could have doing different activities. So I think that's also a really big benefit.
It does work well that way. And, you know, we don't really, we expect, I mean, often what teachers say to us when they're quite new to LbQ is they say, well, how do other teachers use it? And it sounds a bit glib, but I go, there are so many different ways. It's unbelievable. Like, there is no standard LbQ teacher. There are patterns of usage, but LbQ has been built very much to fit with whatever your particular style of teaching is and whatever your particular group is. So people say, well, is LbQ suitable for, like, you know, intervention and booster groups? Yes. Is it suitable for whole class? Yes. Is that a contradiction? No, because it's just built with kind of flexibility in mind. The only thing is, like any powerful tool, it needs somebody who knows what they're doing driving it, and that's the teacher. You know, it's like LbQ is not going to teach your kids by itself. You're going to have to make decisions about how you set the questions, and that's, you know, that's always I say the tricky bit. It's a bit that needs the bit that needs doing. But whatever you can imagine in terms of how you want to teach your group, LbQ will probably fit with it.
Yeah, I think it's so versatile. I think that's the key word. It's like versatile for whatever you want it to be. I keep saying lessons or interventions, but like you said, where you can cross it over from year 6 to year 7. Like if I knew that a year 6 class had used it, then I could link it into year 7 and do it for recap. It would be something they're comfortable and confident with, and I think that's what's great, is where it really allows that collaboration across year groups.
Yeah, and there's another, that's thanks for that, Emily, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing we've got that's built into the platform is a huge degree of customization. So the 2 question sets that I've got running at the moment, I've basically just taken them off the peg. So what I've basically said is, can I have 5 teachers with, you know, years of experience write me some question sets, and I'll run them, and I'll set them off, because that's basically what's happened. That's how those questions have got there. They're not generated by a computer. They've been written by very experienced teachers, and they've been quality assured to the nth degree. If we find a mistake in one of our questions, it gets corrected the same day. If you find an error, tell us about it, but you know, you'd have to look quite hard. I sometimes find the odd one now and again, but increasingly I don't. And I'm an ex-English teacher, so I'm always on the lookout for a rogue apostrophe. But the fact is that if you don't want to use them off the peg, if you want to customize them, all of our stuff can be customized. For instance, if you've got a question set and you think, well, actually my group are pretty good at this, and I don't want them to do the first level of the questions, I just want them to start at level 2. You can take out that level really quickly. Hit one button and level 1 is gone. Likewise, if you feel you don't want them to go on to level 3 or 4, you can take those levels out. If you don't like a question, you just take it out. If there's a question you think, oh, I don't fancy that one, you can just take it out. And then we've even got a feature called question collection. So we've got over 90,000 questions. But they start at key stage 1, a little bit of content, go all the way up to key stage 4 in all topics. But out of those 90,000 questions, you can pick and mix any questions you want and turn them into what we call a question collection. It's a little bit like shopping on Amazon. You basically just say, I want that question, I want that question, I want that question. We put them all in a basket. Then you say, I want that question set, and then that pops up. So I could see how that could help in all sorts of ways. If you wanted to, you know, mix some questions about tenses with some other questions, they can all be mixed up in a particular way. So I don't think you're going to run out of options of how you use LbQ.
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of the question collection as well, because you can really target where gaps are, and you can really target what you know that secondaries want. So I know we're producing secondary expectations are sort of the key areas of maths and English that need focus. And you know, again, is that collaboration between primary and secondary to get children feeling confident in things, because if you know what secondary are going to be doing in the first week of school, then children can work on that in the last few weeks of year 6 to get them ready. I think for me, being in secondary, I've seen that I know that children have been taught what they've been taught. I know that they can do it, which is an advantage, I suppose, for my year 7s over some at maybe other secondary schools. But it's about confidence. They get to a new place, a new setting, and this just helps them build that confidence and build that understanding. Yeah,
that is a good point. And we've kind of built question sets in for those kind of purposes. So if you're in LbQ, I'm now just on I've just chosen maths now to have a look at maths as well as English. I've chosen assessment. We've got SATs tests, and they're actually very popular when SATs are on, because they're basically questions that are literally reproductions of SATs tests. It even looks like SATs tests, no colours, just a kind of quite austere thing. But then we've got end of year reviews, which are extremely useful. We've got topic reviews as well for all year groups. And then we've got ready to progress sets as well that we've recently added to the platform. So using best practice in maths teaching, NCETM stuff, basically these are question sets which are deliberately designed to see whether, for instance, you know, a year group of year 6 is ready to progress in geometry. Have they got everything they need to know from year 6 to go on to year 7? Or are they going to get to the year 7 content and find they're going to struggle? So our ready to progress sets are very useful as well, and get used an awful lot. I think they're starting to be used an awful lot, particularly for people doing Emily's kind of job and thinking about how you manage that.
Yeah, I think ready to progress just adds that extra step in between, doesn't it? It's almost that year 6.5, as I like to keep saying.
Yeah, that it is like year 6.5 in a way, isn't it? That kind of liminal pace where you kind of you are between the levels, and sometimes where your confidence can get knocked a bit, I suppose. But LbQ is very low stakes. You know, nobody knows apart from the teacher how the other pupils are doing. Notice we anonymize. If I just go back and show you the task, I mean, I can reveal the names of the pupils if I want, but even if the teacher has the results up on the big screen, they're just pupils. And so nobody knows how anybody else is doing. But the kids know that if they're stuck, then the teacher will know about it and they'll be able to have a sneak look at their name and then work it out from there. So it's low stakes testing. There's no reason why kids won't have a go. They're not going to kind of freeze in the headlights. They're going to actually think, yeah, let's crack on with this, which is quite good.
Yeah.
What do you so this is a question, Emily, and I'm going to regret asking this. No, I'm not going to regret it. Actually, I'm going quite pleased. What else do you think LbQ could do? Have you noticed anything that you think we could do better, or a feature of the platform? Trying to get some free consultancy out of you now, really, with an audience.
No, I think from what I've seen of how it works, and from me using it myself, I like everything about how it works in the sense of the question types. I like that it's anonymized, or you can show names of children, and that it can be used so versatile. I think it's just a case of, in the future, you'd want there to be consistently updated content, because if you are using it with your class and they're loving it, you want to be able to keep giving them those refreshed ways of learning. So I think because it is one of those quick, easy things to use, it would be used a lot, and therefore it needs to just continue having the quality of content that you're providing, I think.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Obviously, we do want people to use LbQ often, because we think it. I mean, we've done studies, we've had it independently evaluated by academics who said, yeah, it makes a big difference to pupils' learning, and that's no mystery, because if you look at, you know, somebody like Hattie says the effect sizes of doing formative evaluation are very high, as you get a good bang for your buck in terms of moving pupils on. So there's no mystery that LbQ works. But it has to be used quite often. If you only used it, you know, once a week or once every fortnight, don't expect it to have an impact. It's got to be used more often. So yeah, refreshing the content is something that we do think about, and we still have got a content team who work hard on making sure there's fresh stuff there. So that's a fair point. I've got one eye on the time, because we did say we were going to go for about half an hour, and it's nearly 9 o'clock, nearly 7 o'clock now. I will leave these tasks running. In fact, what I'll do as well, because I can see some of you are still working on the task, I will set you a maths task, right? So if you want to see what our maths content looks like, let's set a maths task, and then there'll be three tasks running under that code, and that code will run until midnight. So if you wanted to have a go, you could. What should we set, Emily? What should the third task be?
Ooh, I think some algebra.
Algebra. Oh, okay then. Yeah. What year group? Year 11 algebra? No, maybe not.
Not for me. Year 6 or 7, I think, because that's who we're aiming towards.
Year 6 and 7. So we've got a year 6, 7. So this is very much, this is a 6.5 set. Solve equations with one variable. I shall start that, and then you've now got 3 question sets to have a go at. So that should keep you busy this evening if you're not gonna be planning to do anything else. Couple of things to say at the end is we have a lovely transitions page that the beautiful platform people have put together. So make a note of this URL. It's lbq.org, and you just put / and put transitions, and it loads up the URL. In fact, I'll actually show you it. Because it's so, and
I love this page as well. I think it's really good. We've had such a turbulent year for transition in general, that anything that you can do to help your children, I just think is a massive bonus. And I think it's great that LbQ have actually focused in on transition, because most people don't.
No, I mean, we knew it was an important thing. We would have done this even without the pandemic, but maybe the pandemic made it even more pressing. You know, we did a lot of work during the pandemic with you know, lockdown learning. In fact, we built an entire site from scratch to help parents teaching their kids at home. We've taken that offline now, but back in the day, it did some good business in terms of, you know, people visiting it. It didn't cost anything. We gave it away. So we always looking for what teachers want, because let's face it, if we didn't, then what would be the point of us? You know, oh, we're really good at anticipating what motor mechanics need. We're rubbish for teachers. Oh, teachers is what we do. So yeah, if you go to transitions, you get on here, and all of these links kind of move you through and just tells you what you need to know. You might find this is useful if you need to convince SLT about LbQ, or they want to find out more. Oh yeah, you know, I went on this crazy webinar and they were ranting on about stuff, and this is designed really just to, you know, give a nice overview of what we do. And then when you get to the end of it, we're very happy to demo this for your school. We realise that a webinar like this is high value because it's Emily's expertise in transitions, and we're just so pleased she's done it for us, and thank you so much for all of your help. But if you need to have this explained in the context of your school by, you know, one of us consultant people, then there's a book your demo, and we'll basically set up a Zoom meeting and we can go through it. And the nice thing about that is you can obviously ask questions pertinent to your school. And what we'll also do is we'll give you an LbQ transition pack. The LbQ transition pack is a long PDF. I say long, it's about 10 pages. And it basically has links to all of the question sets in a particular order and the way that you can use them. So effectively, it's like a route map through our content. It's something that we're increasingly going to do at LbQ. We've built the content. What we want to do now is give teachers pathways and routes through the content to enable them to achieve something really effectively and with the minimum amount of planning. You know, we're helping you cheat. Well, it's not cheating, but we're giving you a shortcut. It's cheat's the wrong word, shortcut. So the LbQ transition pack, if you book a demo, then you can have a go at that, which is great. Miss Kuntz, thank you very much for coming along. I see you have to leave. That's fine. We're just so pleased to have you. We'll send you a link to the recording. That goes for everybody. We will send the recording on. I wondered if anybody else has got any questions. We haven't really left much gaps because both Emily and I are not people who are shy of talking, as you can hear. So there haven't been any pregnant pauses. So I'm going to just, if anybody wants to ask any questions about LbQ, either in the chat or you want to open your mic up, now's a good time to do it, because we've really, you know, covered everything else we needed to do, and we're only 3 minutes over time, so that's job done. Good stuff. You know,
I think we covered everything.
Oh yeah, we're just such a brilliant job. How could you possibly improve on that? Said nobody at home ever. They're probably thinking, so I am actually going to call it a day. I'm going to say thank you very much to Emily once again for bringing along her expertise. She's doing quite a lot of work with LbQ. She's going to work with some of our ambassador teachers as well. Schools who are very experienced using LbQ, we have ambassador teachers, and they basically spread the word about LbQ so that other teachers can, you know, get some of the goodness that they've had. And Emily has very kindly agreed to help them focus on transitions and do a similar thing to what we've done tonight. So it's great that Emily's working with us. And actually, everybody in the webinar, you wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for Emily anyway, because it's Emily's audience that she's brought. If we tried to do this as LbQ, we probably wouldn't get much of an audience. So it's fantastic. So thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. We will send you a link afterwards to the recording, and we'll send you some other stuff as well. And I'm just really pleased you all came, and you have a lovely evening.
Yeah, thank you for coming, everyone.
All right, thanks a lot. See you later.